So we're going to talk about leadership, authority within the community.
Boom.
Good topic here. So verse we're going to start with is Hebrews 13:17. Obey your leaders and submit to them, for they are keeping watch over your souls as those who will have to give an account. Let them do this with joy and not with groaning, for that would be of no advantage to you. It's a big one there in Hebrews. So
Sure is.
what are your thoughts on that? Obey your leaders, submit to them. They're keeping watch over your souls.
I mean, it's fantastic. But like, it's just it really goes back. All of these build on each other, like all our recordings. They build on each other because it goes back to, like, is this an organization? Is it a family? Can someone speak into your life without you getting your feelings hurt and running away? Like,
Yes.
We really do have to be family. And, people do family so dysfunctionally in the world that, like, if someone does hurt your feelings in your family, you do run away. And you get forever, like, hurt feelings and hold this grudge thing. But, like, God has called us to his family, and he's doing it different. And so we need scripture and wisdom, to him who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit's saying, So we need to listen to the Spirit that's in these scriptures that wants to bring us into a full revelation of family and what God's design was from the very beginning, before Genesis 1. So James incredibly put a bunch of scriptures together, and it's like way too much to try and cover in one. So I think we're going to break it up in a few, because there is so much meat here. And if we really will just, like, put our hearts to the instruction of scripture, we will find, like, so much peace and life and fruitfulness. So
I think one of the most necessary things in light of all this is humility. Because if we're not humble, if we're all about, I read something, I was trying to remember the phrase, but it's, if we're all about our own, oh wait, it's on the back of this book, I think. Yeah, God is not interested in developing your vision first. He's interested in developing you. And I kind of thought about that too, as like your calling. A lot of, like, new Christians, new believers, it's all about, all right, what am I supposed to do? What is my calling? Is God going to put me on a stage in front of, hundreds of thousands of people? Am I going to be a missionary sent? Am I going to be fill in the blank? It's all about their own vision, their own, calling, rather than if you read, the New Testament and you see how Paul addresses the body, it's all about building one another up. It's all about submitting to one another, having humility towards one another. So, like, the verse that I'm thinking of is 1 Peter 5:5. Says, likewise, you who are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility towards one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So we have a command from Peter, be subject to the elders, right? And then with a, kind of almost like a condition, or like, this is what you have to do in order to obey this. Clothe yourselves with humility towards one another. Because if you don't have humility to be able to come to someone, and because when you come to someone and ask a question, you're pretty much saying, I don't know. You're saying, I'm not equipped to tackle this head on. And many men, especially in America, I mean, I don't really have much experience in other nations, but especially in America, it's like, it's weakness to ask for help. It's weakness to ask for an opinion. It's very rarely done outside of Christ. So
right, because you're kind of saying, like, I don't know, do you know?
Right. They just want to handle themselves, or hopefully, if they can hear it in a podcast or on a YouTube short or a reel or whatever, then awesome, it gets addressed. So yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is, so I grabbed this book off of our shelf. It's been sitting there probably Gee, I've had it since before we got married, so over 10 years ago. Since we've been married 10 years.
Yep.
In April, but it's super good. This one's by the founder and pastor of Jesus Culture, which is like music, Jesus Culture music, and it's by Banning Libshire.
Lebshire, I don't know. That's how I've always said it.
But Banning, and is his first name, and then it's called Rooted: The Hidden Places Where God Develops You. So anyway, if you want to get that book, I would recommend. It's fantastic. But I was going through it again because I was like, man, I just need like words for all of this. Like there's so much, it's really difficult to put it all in words. But to piggyback off of what you're saying about this independence thing, in chapter 12, which is the last chapter, he talks about like someone who came to him and was like, Banning, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm getting a divorce. He was like, who have you been talking to about your marriage? And she was like, nobody. She's like, and so Banning goes like, so you've been talking to nobody about your marriage and no one knows what you're going through. She's like, correct. We have not talked to anyone. And she just basically refuses to talk to someone about it. She's like, it just doesn't work, And likewise, another example was like somebody who's like can't afford their mortgage or can't afford food or and like they're about to lose everything. And he's like, well, have you asked anyone like what to do? And he's just like, no, I haven't asked anyone. Like it takes humility to be like, things aren't working out and I need help. And the more you resist instruction and counsel, the more you're resisting your own benefit. Like community is meant for your benefit. There's a bunch of scriptures I'll read over really quick. This is Proverbs 11:14. Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Without counsel, plans go awry, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. For by wise counsel you will wage your own war, and in multitude of counselors there is safety. So those are 3 different scriptures. I could write them down below in
those are great
description, but it's absolutely fantastic. Really, they are meant for our benefit, right? Like,
yeah, and it's only pride that keeps us from asking, literally, and that's what he's saying. In order to be subject to your elders, clothe yourself with humility. But pride, not only does Proverbs also say it leads to destruction, but pride will keep you from submitting your ways to someone wiser and older, or even if they're not older, maybe they've been in the Lord longer. Maybe you can just see that their stature is a little bit higher than yours or something.
Their roots are a little bit deeper.
Yeah, more mature. Yeah. Those are people that you can come to with these things.
Yeah, I mean, like we've gone to counsel, we've gone to leaders over like big things and over small things. Like, is this the Lord's voice? Am I hearing properly? Or should I marry this person?
Yeah, jobs. Marriage, jobs, moving, house purchases, even car purchases.
Yeah, cars, yeah.
We brought multiple different people with us to look at our cars from the body. Not like we're not being weird, being like, we have to bring an elder with us to buy our car. Like we're just saying like, hey, these guys have bought tons more cars than me. These experience.
I value.
And like, I don't have like, both mine and Carly's dads have passed away when we were 15. So likely we probably would have brought them with us, at this point in our life, maybe if they're available. But, we just brought our brother Dean, with us to buy the car. And he was available, and our whole family loaded up in his truck and we went to buy our car pretty much.
Yeah. And another time, it was another guy from the body, but what's interesting.
And Dean saved me $1,000.
Oh yeah, because he said, "Stay firm on your offer."
Yeah, and we walked away from it, and then the people heard from the Lord and reached out to us and said, "We want to accept your offer."
Yeah.
So thanks, Dean. Shout out. Shout out to Dean.
But you know what? To piggyback off of another episode that we did, and you said one of the top characteristics of a disciple is
Yeah.
that they're available.
And Dean was
And
available.
both of them were available.
Yep. And Bobby the first time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so,
which he kept us from that car.
yeah.
Which was
Praise God. I really didn't want that.
This one was way better. See, thank you, Bobby. Shout out to Bobby.
But,
but most people would say, I don't need anybody to come with me to look at a car. I know cars. I know,
dude.
But it's about doing life together.
Yes.
And if we can use that, is it a proverb? I don't think it's a proverb. Maybe it is. One will chase 1,000, two will chase 10,000.
Yeah.
It's just that exponential benefit of having community and having brothers, older brothers, elders that we can submit all things of our life to.
Right. I think a lot of people use that for marriage, that verse. Two will chase 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that can be applied in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But I think a sweet girl was texting me. She heard some of our podcasts. She was like, what do I do? Like, my parents want me to do this thing, but I really want to free my time and all this stuff. And I was like, authority doesn't come without conversation.
Exactly.
You don't have, this is not a tyranny
right.
here. I didn't say that part, but it's like, we really get it wrong if we're like, oh, okay, that's what you said, I have to obey that. Chill out.
Yes.
Don't be religious. That's a religious spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do, someone was telling me that even in my marriage, because I was like, well, my husband said this, and I just need to make sure that he's always free and all this stuff. And this older woman looked at me and was like, and here's an example of me just going to somebody and expressing, not to my husband how I'm feeling, but even to her. I'm like, I just feel like I need to be, always freeing him up and always this, and I'm always, working at home and stuff. And she was like, well, have you talked to him about how you're feeling? And I'm like, well, no, because I know I'm supposed to always be freeing him up and always be doing this. And she's like, I think you're dealing with a religious spirit.
And this was you saying these things?
Or that I was feeling like I'm always releasing you. And
okay.
This was years ago.
Yeah.
But she was like, Carly, this is a religious spirit. You're trying to do the right thing without relationship. You need to actually tell him how you feel and tell him, I need you, and in the same way with our leaders and with, obeying our parents and obeying people around us. We could have totally gotten married despite our leaders' counsel, and they would have supported us.
Mm-hmm.
There were people who got married anyway in spite of the counsel that they were given, and leadership still walks with them because they shepherd over their souls, right? So it's not about I'm going to shepherd
thrown in prison for not obeying.
Right. It's not, I'm going to shepherd you as long as you stay under my umbrella, right? It's, I wish you would stay within my umbrella because it's for your benefit. But if you don't, I'm still going to shepherd you. And that's the kind of shepherd you want, right?
Right.
So.
And that's the idea in Hebrews 13:17, it's twofold. So we have the command of obey your leaders and submit to them. And then you have why? Well, because they're keeping watch over your souls as those who will give an account. So is your leader able to be invested in you in such a way that he can watch over your souls? That's a really personal thing, watching over your soul. So
right.
They're very aware of you. They know you at least by name. How many churches, which are more so organizations, don't even know the names of the people in their pews, in their chairs,
Right. If you have over 500 people in your church, this is going to be a really difficult reality.
It is. It's going to be very difficult. It's not impossible, but it will be very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. And
it depends on how the church is set up.
Right.
I think what the very first scripture you were talking to me about before we were recording about Moses.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one to share right now.
Yeah, so Moses, he was actually, he obviously had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that he was shepherding. and he was very overwhelmed with it. And it wasn't, they were bringing him every small case, huge cases, small cases, all of them was way too big of a deal, way too much to work with. So he went to Jethro, his father-in-law, and well, really, him and Jethro were just talking, and it came up, and Jethro gave him advice and said, "This is not good." He just said, "This is not a good thing. This is what you need to do. Right. You need to have men's over thousands, over hundreds, over, he goes through all the details. And at the end of, in verse 24, Exodus 18, it says, "So Moses listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said." So there was obviously a relationship there, right? It was his wife's dad, his father-in-law. And Moses was in that open relationship. And then with his dad, he was able to, with his father-in-law, he was able to talk to him about all the situations. And his father-in-law was able to speak into his life. So Moses could have said, "Are you a leader of millions, or is it me? I think I can handle this, Dad." Yeah. But he was clothed with humility. And we see that in all of Moses' response, really. He's a great picture of Jesus, because that's what he is. He is a picture of Jesus. And you see that he says he did all that he said, and then it was great, right? He took his advice, and it went really, really well. Yeah. At least in that aspect. I mean, they all died in the wilderness later, but that's not the point we're making here.
He helped it. He's in Jethro's counsel. Yes. He had a father that he went to for counsel.
Yes.
I mean, whether that was a natural counseling or not, it would be even cooler. Like, either way, it was just great counsel. And he listened to him, and there was benefit on every side. Mm-hmm. Like, can you probably imagine the lines that people were standing in to just bring a certain situation to Moses? Like, everyone was benefited by Moses heeding the counsel of his father-in-law. And if we don't have someone we can just bring stuff to, and that's why I say, if your church is over about 500, like, you just at least need somebody you can bring stuff to. Mm-hmm. That is trusted within the church. Like, if you're just going to like some willy-nilly guy that you work with who has good advice, I don't know if that's actual God's plan for you, because that's not really how he has set up family. Like, you need to be going to like somebody that the church trusts. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's like only the pastor. And that's really what I've seen is that in the American church, we've made church a one-man show. And like 100%. The pastor is the one who visits the sick. He does all the home visits. Yeah. He does the marriage counseling.
And there are churches
meets with the teenagers. Like, I mean, maybe there's a youth pastor if they've hired one. Like, it's just like, it's incredible how we've dismembered the body of Christ, where we don't have hands, and we don't have feet, and we don't have mouths, and we don't have eyes. We don't have a heart. Like, one person is everything. Like, we're all just like, we come and we listen to this one man preach, and then he gives every moment of every day, gets totally drained.
Yeah.
Because there's no,
and it is crazy, because that's exactly what was happening. So I was just kind of briefly reading over it again. And so Jethro gets there, and Moses goes out to meet him. They bow to one another, kiss each other, love on each other, right? Aww. And then they rejoice. It says they rejoice for all the good that the Lord had done to Israel, as Moses is telling Jethro all about this, what's been going on. And then the next day, Moses sits down to judge the people, and the people stood around Moses from morning till evening. And Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, he said to him, "What are you doing? Why do you sit alone and all the people stand around you?" So he's questioning his life, right? Jethro in his life enough to question it.
And he could see it.
Yeah. And Moses said, time to see it. And Moses responds, "Well, because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, they come to me, I decide, and I make them know the statutes and laws of God." And Moses' father said, "What you're doing is not good." And he's just able, like, have we given people the freedom to speak into our lives? Have we come to an older brother or an older or a father figure and said, "Hey, if you see something in my life, I just want to tell you, you have the freedom to address me."
Yeah.
I have young men in my life that have said that to me. Yo, if you, yo, if you see anything off of me, reach out. Hit
Yeah.
me up.
That
And yeah. So with all their lingo that I have to look up
love you,
online.
big dog.
Yeah.
That's what they
So
say.
so then it says, so then Jethro says this, you and the people with you will certainly wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You're not able to do it alone.
Yeah.
Obey my voice. I'll give you advice and God will be with you. Right. So then that's when he gives him the advice. Moses listens to everything he says. So yeah, just some great little nuggets there.
Yeah, fantastic. And in this book by Banning, the Rooted book that I recommended, he talked about like when you invite people in there, right? You got to make sure you got to be ready, because even though they're leaders and they're shepherds and they're keeping watch over your soul, in the same breath, they may not have that gift that you're supposed to get, right? Like the little nugget of change that you need in your life, or the instruction that you need in your life. It might not be tied up in the most beautiful bow and gift wrap, right? Like we need to mutually give people grace to communicate with us things that might be hard.
Exactly.
If they don't totally understand something. I remember one time.
Yeah, they may need to be enlightened, like in the sense of like, hey, this is actually also going on. And they go, oh, and then, as you deliver it, are you able to pivot?
Right. Without defensiveness, without like aggression, like without counter arguments, like
seasoned
without
with grace.
Yeah, without you,
grace.
closing off your ears. You just communicate, well, this is also happening. Do you still have that opinion? This is, there is a way for you to feel completely understood. You don't always have to take the misunderstanding. Like there was one time that we were getting counsel before we got married, like if we should get married or something. And they were counseling us that I was being really pushy or something like that. And the whole time I just like sobbed. I just cried. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt really misunderstood, but I felt like in my lack of understanding, I felt like I wasn't supposed to say anything. And I never did. But they themselves, the wife, questioned if she should have said that. They're like, I don't understand why you're crying so much. Maybe this wasn't right. And so, sometimes we just, and those people, we love those people. We're still, I would say we're still under them, and we love them so much. So like there is a time to just take it, and there is a time to enlighten people for the benefit of even your own soul to be shepherded properly, right? But you just need to stay humble. It doesn't come without relationship. Like you need to have the back and forth with them.
Yeah, and especially as leaders who are giving advice, you're going to experience that backlash, much more, people not receiving it. You, as receiving advice, you can always clothe yourself with humility, but you can't clothe the other person in humility. So if they come accusing you of certain things, like we've seen with Moses and Korah, which we can go into later, you have to, you have to have the response that Moses had, and that can just be a little teaser. But right. You had something that you were going into.
Sheesh, there is so much, and our kids are waking up. Yeah, we're doing this in the morning, but there's so much. I think we'll just make a part 2 to this.
Okay.
Because it's so good. There's so much to go into as far as community and covering, and it being a beneficial thing and not a like someone lording over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was something at one point called like the shepherdship movement, and it was very like controlling and like weird.
Oh, really?
And one practice, at least that I've heard from a lot of our people that are our leaders that we submit to, is that they don't want to tell you no. Like They're not there to tell you no. They're there, like I think you mentioned it before we even started. They're there to, the community is there to validate the voice of God, not to be the voice of God.
Right.
And that's such a huge point. That's so important. And that's when you go back to all those proverbs about the safety in counsel, and you know, your, what is it, your way is established or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. It's just like submitting. Hey, like, I mean, even my wife, she felt like she was called to Islam at one point, you know, like not the
No,
religion.
no.
Sorry. Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry.
What is that? Although Shepherd's going to be calling us up.
No,
Wait, hang
so
on.
she, like, that she was called to be a missionary in the Middle East. Is that
Straight.
better? Okay.
That's right.
And she was very extreme about it. And, you know, come to find out that was just some young zeal that was misguided.
Hey.
And maybe it'll be something in the future.
That's right.
Know. It could be, but it definitely wasn't for right then.
Right. And you know what's funny is that banning in this book, when I was talking about the voice validate, or shepherds validate the voice of God.
Right. So they helped her hear.
He's actually talking about pace.
I don't know.
Pace. It says one of the subheadings of this chapter is letting community set the pace. And it says a lot of times we hear something and we're like, it's now, right now. Let's do it. And because you're not moving in a herd, you moving by yourself, you can move a lot faster, but you're not safe. If you stay within the herd, you're safe as you go that direction. But a herd is not going to move quite as fast as an individual, but you're not safe as you move. Is this making sense? That example?
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
So, so a lot of times, like community, it might feel slow as we walk in community, but it is safe. And we need to be like allowing people to say, I don't feel like it's the right time. That is the perfect example is us getting married. Dude, it felt like an eternity.
Yes.
It felt so long. But guess what? We've been married 10 years. But we got told no twice. And
but it wasn't no, remember?
And I was about to say, it wasn't necessarily no. It was, you can, but it's not best.
Right.
And
we think that there's more.
We're like, well,
yeah,
what we hear is no, because we're ready to heed your instruction.
Exactly.
And so anyway, heed instruction. It will only bless you. It will. Get a multitude of counselors. Listen to your parents. Listen to someone older than you. Get someone who's 15 years.
Get a father, you know.
Be a son.
Like Paul said, you know, you have countless teachers, countless guides, but you don't have many fathers. And that's the biggest thing is it's going to be hard for them to weigh in on your life if they don't actually have a relationship with you. You know, like you go in and you just unload. You don't know this pastor, so you schedule a meeting with him and you sit down in front of him and you tell him your whole situation. That, hey, you're doing what you can with what you got. That's amazing. You know, you have the right heart about it. You want to be submitted, and God will honor that. But there is just a level of like, you know, if I go to the men in my life, they know me. They know my struggles. I don't have to. They know my weaknesses. They know my strengths. They know what I'm involved in at home. They know how I spend my free. Like they know all these things. So they have such a better view. They actually watch over my soul, you know, and they're able to be that leader that we're told to obey, rather than just, you could literally go to anybody and
it's almost like a therapist, like you made an appointment.
Right. You can go to anybody and ask them for their opinion. You know, you can ask ChatGPT and it'll give you some good advice. But it's not a father. It's not a father. That's right. It's not a Jethro. It's not a, you know, fill in the blank.
Right. And you know, I told this group of young adults, I said, the Sunday service ended and our pastor was just like passionately talking about something, and I was like, man, guys, he just fathered us.
That's right.
He just fathered us. And I said, you ready to be a son? Because everyone wants a father and no one wants to be a son. I said, you ready to be sons? And they were all like, oh, you know, I'm writing that down, all this stuff. Is that let that strike your heart. Are you ready to be a son?
Mm-hmm.
When you're disciplined, are you going to embrace it or are you going to resist it?
Right.
Are you going to go find another father, quote, quote, that fits your tickled ears? Let's hear the hard thing. Let's heed instruction. Sometimes that's hard, but it's good. It will give you life. You will only find blessing.
Yep.
By humbling yourself. Guess what? God himself gives grace to the humble, but he resists the proud. That stinks.
Mm-hmm.
That stinks to be resisted. It's a horrible feeling.
And like it says in Hebrews, if you're left without discipline, you're an illegitimate child.
That's right.
So we need that discipline and correction in our life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, we'll make part 2. There's going to be many parts, but thanks for listening, guys.
amen.